Hey, and welcome back to this channel. I'm the Spell Singer, and this is my ongoing review of the Sagard the Barbarian gamebook series. And this review is going to bring you a quick look at the title and book number for this entry, a quick read of the blurb, and then we'll look at the plot for this book, check out some of the game mechanics and adventure sheet, and I'll run the artwork through this video so you can see what that looks like, and we'll have a little chat about the artwork and then some of my own likes and dislikes, any fun facts, and we'll finish on a summary and score out of 10 for Sagard the Barbarian. And this is book number 2. This one is the Green Hydra. So book number 2, this came out in 1985, so that was the year of publication, and it's the same two authors. It's Flint Dill and good old Gary Gygax. Same as before and throughout this series of books, same two authors who are bringing their love of D&D and gamebook into this little mini series. Now the cover artist, certainly for the UK cover, which you can see here, was Gino DeCille, and I quite like that cover, but we have a slightly different one for the USA, and that was Richard Corbin, which you can see here. I always prefer the UK one. I always think, I don't know, he's less Sagard the Barbarian and more Sagard the Librarian. So yeah, I don't know, I always preferred the British one, but yeah, it's just me, just my personal opinion. But the internal artwork was Leslie Morrill, so he's back on board with some really cool images for this book, and he portrays that really well, and in my opinion, even better than his efforts on the first book, The Ice Dragon. Yeah, so let's have a look at the blurb for this book, shall we? So this is my copy here, and we've got here, you are Sagard the Barbarian, the lone survivor of a bloody ambush. You must carry out a life or death mission for your homeland and tribe. You will encounter unimaginable horrors, the indestructible smoke demon, the hideous Nightripper with razor-edged claws, and the Slith Assassin. But will you survive the most dangerous adventure of your life in the tomb of the Green Hydra? Fight bloody battles against merciless foes. There can be no going back, no surrender, live or die. The choice is yours. Yeah, so that's the blurb from my copy, which is starting to look a little bit ropey, actually. Yeah, it's starting to look, I mean, that it's getting a bit discoloured, and it is old. Was it 1985? So anyway, the plot for this book, this one, so if you remember, shortly after Sagard's adventure in the lair of the Ice Dragon and his ordeal for the for courage to get into the tribe and become one of the head tribesmen of his own band, the Ratkin Barbarian, in this one he's become a fully fledged and fully accepted warrior of his own tribe. It's springtime, and it sets out with his own tribe on a trading mission to the city of Sutthorpe, and that's basically to exchange some furs and pelts for gold. And crossing through the southern marshes, they are attacked. So he's attacked, him and his tribe, they are attacked by the Hukkas. After a furious battle with this other tribe, only Sagard and one remaining Hukka are surviving. So you're the only survivor of this Ratkin trading expedition to the southern city of Sutthorpe, and once you arrive in the city, a greater threat becomes apparent, and you're offered basically a mission to venture into an ancient tomb and destroy the evil Hydra that's giving them a load of grief. This map here gives you an idea about the route that this story takes. So you begin on these Hukkas marshes, you travel to Sutthorpe via this ancient road or canoes. It's quite open world to begin with. And when you arrive in Sutthorpe to learn your true quest, from there you head to these docks, travel across the sea to the Isle of Slith. But before entering the tomb of the Hydra, you have to sort of find your way in there and navigate all these tunnels to find the actual tomb. So you've got like a little dungeon crawl in there as well. So it's a really good plot. There's a little bit more substance than with the Ice Dragon. A little bit more variety, shall we say, in the locations and all the travel. So it's quite nice. It's a little bit, it's different enough. And in my opinion, it's a slightly stronger sequel, slightly stronger plot. Right, yeah, so that's the plot. The game mechanics and adventure sheet. Now, not too much changes in either, to be honest with you, but similar to book one, the combat remains a large feature. If you remember, we talked a bit about how it was almost every other page that you were getting into a punch-up. It's not too dissimilar in this one. Each battle ends with a win, lose, or draw scenario. You lose a battle when your number of hit points hits 0. You win a fight when you reduce your opponent's points to 0, and you can flee by rolling a die resulting in an even number, but only after you're told you can do so. Yeah, so for combat, you and your opponent, you take turns, and you will receive your current level of hit point lists, as shown here in this little diagram. You roll a single D4, and you consult this chart and make the necessary deduction to your opponent's hit points. Then your opponent does the same until the end, basically. One of you goes down or you leg it. You also have this fighting table shown here, which is a kind of reference to the hit points and damage. So for example, if Sagard is a level 3 fighter or a level 3 warrior and rolls a 4, he will do 3 points of damage to his opponent. And this book continues that experience points campaign progression system that we talked about in the last book, and it works really well in this one as well. So you simply carry over everything that you gained in book 1, the Ice Dragon, to this book. So that includes all items, obviously all experience, any weapons you picked up. So it's a really nice way of, a bit like the Way of the Tiger series, it carries over this progression really nicely. And if you read this book, having not played book 1, you simply start as a level 3 warrior. So it just puts you at that to begin with. And then once you reach 60 experience points, you rise to level 4, which you can do in this book quite early. Yeah, so weapons and armor still play a large part in this adventure, either detailing perhaps an additional point of damage for a weapon, or absorbing a point of damage for a piece of armor. There's a clever coded scroll that gives the opportunity to try and decipher. It's quite tough. I'll put the graphic up here so you can see. It's a tough one, actually. However, it's tempered by the fact that it's possible to have it translated for you if you make the right choices. So you get this as a first choice. You have to try and work out what on earth it's saying, and it's important because it gives you a reference to move on to. But if you take a slightly alternative path, it all gets solved for you. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of odd. I think personally it would have been best if they'd have just left it to the reader to try and work out. But yeah, so there's that. But yeah, not a big deal, but yeah, would have been nice if it had just been left to the reader. This scroll contains like critical hints to help you tackle the catacombs later on that belong to the Green Hydra, which is again presented in a kind of unique manner. It's like a large map with you, and you can draw, you know, your pencil line to help you with your route. And as you come across different letters on the map that you can see here, you turn to that appropriate paragraph. So it's a little bit different from the old fighting fantasy way of dungeon crawl, where it's a junction, left or right, and you make your choice. On this, you have these actual letters, and you choose the letter and then turn to the appropriate reference. So that's quite good, different. You need to plan carefully, as you are not allowed to visit the same location twice. And also, if you go back on yourself, you bump into these guards that are chasing after you. So there's this kind of need to progress through as quickly as possible without missing too much, because you know you're being chased. Likewise, the adventure sheet here, it hasn't really changed very much. You know, we've still got Obviously all the usual attributes that we had in the other one. So you've got your experience marks, your level, and your current hit points. They've kept the trophies in there for some reason, although they were only really relevant to the first book. But the next book keeps it as well. It's only until book 4 do they lose the trophies, which is a bit odd. Weapons and armor with their effects on combat is in there as well, and the special items with their own powers. So no real change to the adventure sheet. It pretty much stays standard throughout. Okay, the artwork I mentioned, Leslie Murill. He's an award-winning children's book illustrator in the US, and his pictures are better than those I feel in Ice Dragon. I think he's improved, and they're a little bit more relevant to this story as well. They kind of relate nicely to the paragraphs that are describing them. They contribute greatly to the environment and all the setting details, which is great. The internal art is kind of filled with all these expressive characters, unusual dimensions. It kind of gives his images a kind of off-kilter feel to them, bit otherworldly almost. I really like the artwork, lots of rich environments. All the interior art really suits this series of game books and remains consistent throughout the 4 adventures. I've got a favourite picture here. This is the headless Slith Assassin who you get involved in. It's one of those fights that you cannot avoid, and you take his head off, and it's quite gruesome actually. The descriptive prose that goes with this suits the picture. You know, it's nasty, but yeah, really good artwork all around. But yeah, that's my fave. Right, so my own likes and dislikes for this book. I really like the descriptive writing. It's still very high value, really high quality, describes all the settings very well. With the city of Sutthorpe, it's kind of brought to life with all its excellent descriptive prose and evocative characters. And also the encounters as well. Lots of encounters, all really well described. I love that. It's quite refreshing change from the ice wastes of book 1, the Ice Dragon. We learn a little bit more about Sagard and his past, the world that he lives in, and kind of the southern kingdoms as well. So we get a bit more geography in this one. It kind of expands on that universe that Gygax and Dill have put together here. I also really like the coded message that you receive, that puzzle we have to decipher. Kind of breaks it up the narrative a little bit and gives you a chance to kind of do a bit of detective work. There are still many battles which, when faced with more than one opponent, can take you out of the game slightly. But it is a barbarian adventure, so you would kind of expect there to be a lot of these battles, because that's kind of what they do, right? But yeah. Expect a certain degree of combat is all I'll say on that one. My own fun facts for this one. Flint Dill. He's a screenwriter, like I mentioned, game designer, author, producer, with a very diverse career that spans from 80s cartoons to video games. He's well known for his work on the classic cartoons. He's also collaborated with Gygax at TSR. He's written and designed approximately 47 game projects, I think it is, about 47, may even be more than that. But yeah, these include titles like Double Switch, Chronicles of Riddick, Diablo 3. Dill, he's authored books on video games as well, and even contributed to the old Garbage Pail Kids, if you remember those. If you're hurtling towards 50 like me, you will remember going down to your local newsagents and getting a little pack of 3 Garbage Pail Kids stickers with that stick of gum. What was that stick of gum all about? Yeah, so he's involved in that as well. So yeah, very diverse, very rich career. Right, let's do a summary and score for this book. It was set up from the Ice Dragon, follows on really nicely. So the Green Hydra has Sagard. He is leaving Ratica on a trading mission where he obviously stumbles on this hunting party, the Hukkas. And you go on an adventure to the southern kingdoms, and it's just really great, really nice story that expands on the original. The storyline is really good as well, but The combat is slightly tedious like it was before. I often find myself every other page having a bit of a fisticuffs with someone, and if there's more than one opponent, it does draw out a little bit too much for my liking, but you just take that with the story, that's how it is. So the artwork is an improvement, like I mentioned, on the Ice Dragon. The main difference is this maze that you have to navigate, which is home to the final conflict, the Hydra. Really nice addition and done slightly different from the fighting fantasy books. You even managed to get a girlfriend in the form of priestess Quetzalcoatl, who will feature again in later adventures. It shows up in book 3 and is mentioned in book 4. So without giving too much away, you get that to look forward to as well. So that's quite a nice addition as well. It's the first book, it's the first part of this book involves a trek through a marsh, and you get some encounters in the city of Sutthorpe as well. The fights aren't too tough, and the hit points are replenished more or less after every battle. So that's a good thing. You can sort of keep on top of everything. Difficulty is once again quite low. You shouldn't find it too tricky, this one. There's one non-mandatory battle which is very tough to win due to some slightly ambiguous multi-combat system that Dill and Gygas sort of set up, but it's doable. The routes through the first book, the first part of this book, they don't offer too much in terms of variety, but things get more interesting once the city is reached. So you kind of get started off, and maybe good for a first-time reader, get you used to the system and the combat, and then throw you into this city landscape halfway through. It's a little bit more varied. There's lots of choices and puzzles in this book. The final part of the adventure is very different from the rest. It involves this dungeon crawl, like I mentioned, and this time your health is not constantly replenished like it was in the earlier part of this book. So, you got that added concern that you're not going to get all your health back. There isn't much in terms of provisions. So that's a bit tougher. So even though there are healing items and power-ups to sort of ensure that this part of the adventure is not too tough, it is still hard to get through it. It's still very well designed that way. So credit to the two authors there. You also have freedom to navigate the dungeon using a map, which is this here. And if the route is not chosen carefully, if you're not careful about the way you go, it's possible to become trapped and fail instant death. Otherwise, the dungeon is not too tough. It's all right, it works. Throughout most of the Green Hydra, the encounters are designed for a level 3 character, but it's possible, like I stated, to reach level 4 in this book, depending on how many battles you get involved in or whether you're just fleeing from them. As mentioned, Sagard develops an attachment to a female character, the Quetzalcoatl. In most fantasy game books, the only passion that your character has is sort of influenced by collecting treasure and having fights, So it's good to see a human relationship being explored here, and it does become quite a big part of the story and also for the next book as well. So there's some good continuity there. This book shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 attempts to complete. To get through it completely. The adventure offers a sort of detailed setting with the dungeon, which is rather well done. It's particularly impressive about this book is that the format still feels quite fresh, even though it's, maybe to today's standards, maybe not so, but at the time it did feel quite fresh. Although there are only roughly 100 paragraphs or references to this book, there are still lots of choices to be made. And lots of different encounters to sort of get in touch with, some of which provide more special items to help in combat later on, which that and the healing powers again, so difficulty-wise, it's not too tough. In terms of combat, there are, again, several variations on the rules, depending on the situations. So, for example, in one fight against this assassin, its fighting level decreases as its hit points decreases. So kind of makes sense, as you're pummeling this assassin, his ability starts to waver. So that's really good. I like that a lot. And it only happens once that I can remember in this book, but it's a good little mechanic. Also, sometimes you can flee. You can only flee an impossible sort of situation if you're prepared to give up some precious items like some stones or much needed equipment. So that kind of deters you from maybe doing that. Or you may be faced with a kind of death-defying situation, which is quite easy if you follow the correct clues earlier on. So all in all, it's a worthy sequel, and I really enjoyed it. I would give it 6 out of 10. So not a million miles off of the first book, but in my opinion, it has the edge on that one. So a little bit better, yeah. 6 out of 10. Right, I think that's the end of what I wanted to say about this book. I thought it was great. It was a good sequel. It was a worthy sequel. And I will review the next one, book 3, as soon as I can. But if you liked this review, then give it a thumbs up and maybe share it or put a comment in there on your thoughts on this book, whether you liked it or you didn't. And I will catch you in the next review.